Hello, and welcome back to the Place of Wrath and Tears. Having required a sacrifice from the entire live studio audience, we are live tonight. So we are going to do this the old-fashioned way. Drinking coffee at 8 o'clock at night. So, thank you all for being here. What do I say? Oh my god. Hi, this is a KULT Divinity Lost live action play stream. We play the horror RPG KULT Divinity Lost. The game is set in 1957 in a rapidly alting universe that things are slightly changing, slight but significant things, such as Metropolis metal being introduced to the Pittsburgh steel mills in the near future. That won't affect anything at all. That'll be fine. I don't have any plans for that whatsoever. But we're going to have a lot of horror themes. We don't feel like we have any extra content warnings for tonight. So what we are going to do is we are just pretty much going to hop straight in. So to contextualize where we were from last game, the Van Horsts did a magic, to use the genteel shorthand. It is impossible to justify someone's death. As in, it is impossible to reap full value out of the death of a human being. There is nothing after the death of a human being that can match everything that they could have done beforehand. But with that in mind, the Van Horsts performed a great and terrible ritual and took what remains of Marie, a beloved actress and dancer, and remade her as the first martyr of Metropolis. And now she is at center stage forever. And that was a lot of magic. It was capital E enlightening in many ways. So where we are going to start tonight is a few hours, but a few important hours, as the Van Horsts prepare to move on to their next step in life, their next action, the next piece of their let's call it a plan. If we call it a plan, we can pretend there's a plan. I like pretending there's a plan. It makes me look put together. So that's the one piece of the illusion we'll keep. So it is a few hours later. Do we want to say it's the morning? Because that was a late night last night, so we can say that it was the morning.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because, after dealing with all that, I think that Matthew at least would be like, I'm talking about my stuff tomorrow.
Have ourselves a little trauma nap.
I will say that he would have taken a pretty great deal of care to make sure that Clara was in a place that was a little bit more stable than when we saw her, and would be, I don't want to say uncharacteristically, because he is usually relatively tender towards Clara, but more so even just to make sure that she is okay as much as she can be okay after such an event.
Yeah, she stumbled back with them and several drinks, a shower to get the rest of the blood off, and some hugging Bethany very, very long, slightly too long, uncomfortably long, before letting her go to sleep and then crawling into bed with Matthew, but did manage to, once she was in bed after drink number 4, maybe, she's out cold. That was a lot of magic and a lot of trauma, and felt like she was in a safe place, so passed out cold as soon as her body was like, safe, crisis over now, all adrenaline gone, crashed.
Yes. There is no sleep like the post-adrenal sleep. So, since it is the morning, let us roll for all of our various challenges and problems. So we've got nightmares, schizophrenia, infirm.
Actually, speaking of the infirm, I think I had that as a full flare-up last time.
You do still have that as a full flare-up.
Yeah, so would it continue on, like, would it be continued on, or would I roll again, is the question.
Let's roll again, because it is not not a challenge that is entirely biological, so it does not follow the laws of biology. So let's just see what the weirdness has decided to do.
All right. So I got a 13 for nightmares and a 19 for infirm. So my brain's not doing great, but my body is at least slightly less covered in tragedy.
Yes. Well, lo and behold, now that you're around the correct Clara, everything seems to be fine.
Yeah. I think that Matthew likely didn't take off his shirt or anything like that until he was in his room, because there's a certain level of he didn't want people to see how messed up he was when he wanted to focus on being strong for Clara. Which I think, also keeping from being able to have the catharsis of talking about it certainly doesn't help with his nightmares, which gives a reason for why those did not do as well. Though not a 9.
No. So how is Bethany's mind?
So I rolled a 10 for schizophrenia, but disadvantages are at -2, so that's an 8.
Oh.
Yeah, but I rolled an 11 for sixth sense, and then plus soul, which is a 4, so that's a 15. So
okay,
not all there, but highly reactive.
Great. What a fantastic combo.
Hypervigilance, yo. Also, I'm fine. I just sound like this, FYI, to the audience. I already told the rest of the game.
All right. And Erica, I think the things that you roll are situational, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Ben, since mine's on the in between, you technically get to choose between the ones. Is the issue that I'm unable to sleep, which is something follows you back into reality, or the nightmares provide me insight into the truth, or I am forced to process some trauma when I wake up.
No.
I think we're going to process trauma pretty naturally today. I think that's built in. So I think that we'll just stick with the easy one, which is you just you had vague, uncomfortable nightmares of shifting flesh and screaming faces and vomit and alcohol and just kind of that, that Jello salad of your experiences last night, just all rolling around in your brain in one big lumpy mess.
Yeah, that works for me.
So let's kind of roll in. So what we can do is the start of the cinematography that we will have is poor dead Jimmy has just been by to pick up various clothes for dry cleaning, pressing, stain removal, etc., and so on and so forth. So, as we all know, dead Jimmy reports only to Mac, and Mac reports to... Yeah, so Mac reports to big cartoon question mark. So, some clothes are being sent out for wash and a press. So as the door shuts with that small piece of logistics handled, I lead the Van Horsts to their stateroom.
So Matthew's shower is longer than usual, but when he comes out, he at least looks relatively fresh and refreshed, as much as one can be after all this. He looks a little bit like an emotional hangover, which is certainly just a normal hangover because he doesn't feel feelings like that. but he probably like starts like trying to make sure that everything's sort of like set up as well as it can be for everyone's preferences, because he, knows that everybody kind of went through everything.
Clara probably sleeps in. So somebody, I mean, unless it's like noon, which it might be, somebody might have to give her a gentle nudge of everybody else is awake. And do you have any clothes you want sent out?
Bethany,
so
I'm gonna say that at least when you went to bed last night, you were in a great mood. Like between your dreamscape experience and between doing real, honest to goodness, big old anti-illusion magic with your siblings,
Yeah.
I imagine that Bethany was probably feeling pretty great when she went to bed. However, the first thing that tells you that today is going to be a bad day is the way that the ridiculously high thread count sheets still rasp on your skin, but not even in the like, oh no, it's a bad texture, but in a way that almost feels like the little threads are kind of moving. Almost as if there's little creepy crawly legs woven into your sheets.
Well, don't like that.
Nope.
No, so that would be a getting up immediately, lounging in bed about that, and probably going to go take a shower to try and make the creepy crawly on my skin stop.
Yeah.
And then being very annoyed at the world that I could go to bed in such a mood and wake up like this.
Yes. It is almost as if the illusion is punishing you for your audacity. It feels almost actively malignant. And so when the shower itself is merely the usual textural and sensory nightmare. There isn't anything particularly special. But when you get out of the shower, the room is the bathroom is all nice and steamy, and it's got that kind of slightly foggy. And so when you walk past the mirror, and the shape that is in the mirror is not your shape. It is something with extra moving parts and incorrect colors and other horrible things. You don't have to see the whole thing.
Okay. There's at least that. Bethany is going to feel the towel and see if the towel feels terrible.
It's endurable.
Okay. Then yes, there will be brief toweling and not just dripping dry in the bathroom on the mat to avoid bad feelings.
Yeah. Done that.
Yeah.
So it seems like Bethany comes out of her room in a very in a fantastic mood. And so waking up late, how does Clara come out?
All right. She rolls over and feels okay. Manages to put on a robe, grab some coffee. Is not certain if she's in shock or just okay with everything because things resolved, and it's just going to err on the side of it's okay, we did a magic and we fixed everything. And being the eldest and taking care of her siblings, and she is fairly certain that she wasn't the only one under attack or that they will be attacked in the future. So kind of rolls over and is being lazy about it for 2.5 seconds, decides if she's going to be upset or not, and if she's in shock or not, then decides she is not. She needs to be worried about her younger siblings, and then gets up, has energy, puts on the actress face, actually doesn't even bother with her robe. So puts on a fancy necklace and a good dress and combs her hair and steps into the suite looking like everything is fine and she's totally dressed and hasn't gotten out of bed 10 minutes ago.
I like that basically both Matthew and Clara are doing the, if we fake it, that means everything's okay.
Fine.
We're all fine.
Meanwhile, Bethany is foregone all caffeine and is just drinking liquor in the morning because since it's too much, would like them less, please.
Yes.
Need to turn that down.
Good morning.
Mhm.
She walks over and kisses Matthew and then walks over and kisses Bethany's forehead and kind of smooths back Bethany's hair and gives her the worried look. No coffee?
No. Bad morning. Everything feels a lot.
Okay.
Mhm.
Food? Either of you?
Matthew nods and he'll start like pulling some food towards himself, and he'll look at Bethany, and there's that moment where like it almost seems like he's about to like be like, you should probably eat something, and then he's like, nope, doesn't do that, and like just like gives her like the nod of, your dinner is liquored and that's okay.
Bethany is gonna play the game of, is this food safe?
Yeah.
Which is like, I will try a bite of this, and if it's safe, I can eat it, and if it's not, then we don't. So there's a lot of trial and error in that is not very good, because the minute that she thinks of a bad texture, bad reference to the texture, oop, unsafe food.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. After a few moments where like they're just at least getting something into their bodies, whether that's small bites of food followed by liquor, or coffee with whiskey and, you know, eggs and toast and, you know, such like that. Matthew finally, I'd ask how everyone slept, but I think more importantly, I should mention that something did happen to me last night before I came back.
I was going to ask you both if I was the only one. What happened?
Someone approached me. A woman who it was clear that she wanted to influence me through my more carnal desires. She made herself look like you, Claire.
Oh.
And she knew to make herself look like you. Granted, she didn't pretend to be you. She couldn't have. Probably. It would take extreme measures to be able to mimic someone that I've known my entire life, I think. There's one thing to make you look like someone. There's another to make you act like someone.
Yeah.
But whatever gave her enough information about us just for her to know who to look like didn't give her enough information to know how badly something like that backfires on me. She and I had an altercation, and I made it so that she wouldn't look like you anymore. She fled after that. I told her that if she tried to wear your face again, I would kill her. However, the experience was unsettling. The idea that she might be able to use our appearances or the appearances of our loved ones against us even when something's false, it's hard to deny what you're seeing in front of your eyes. So that's something we need to be aware of.
It's something we need to all be aware of. Just because you told her she can't look like me doesn't mean that she won't try to look like you, or like Bethany, or like Dr. Salazari, or Sophia, or any number of people, or David.
It's a risk, and we know just because I was able to pick her out from you doesn't mean that we'd be able to pick her out from someone like a trusted doctor. You're right. My fear in this is that it makes it so that those who we have been able to rely on in the past are less reliable inherently. It could, at any point, it could be someone with a knife. The only people that I think that we can fully trust to know when they are, when to not be this being are each other, because I doubt that any of us could be fooled when it comes to each other. And David, at least when it's me. I can feel David.
Probably.
I know that.
Margaret also.
And Margaret as well. Those are the people that I am connected to. I know that I don't think she could mimic that. But that only helps me.
I suspect she could not mimic the Red Lady to Bethany. I suspect you would know her power, if nothing else. I could be wrong.
I suspect I would know her.
I think that that's undeniable.
My other concern, I mean, my concern is that you went through, my concern is for you, Matthew. I love you, and what I went through last night, I'm not the only one hurting, I'm sure. And Clara reaches for him, and is he sitting like on a couch or at like the breakfast table?
He's like sitting as close to her as he can get. He's concerned.
She kind of like pushes her chair against his and just kind of wraps her arm around the back of his chair and just kind of holds on. So she's just touching him and holding on tight.
He strokes her arm in a very comforting manner, and it's a trait that both of his sisters know that he's done before, which is this sort of like I am going to gently comfort you, but what I actually am doing is having that ability to have that moment of it, like quiet touch. And what he does while he's, kind of like stroking Claire's arm is he places his other hand, palm up on the table. And because it's certain that like he certainly has noticed that Bethany is eating even less than usual, and is kind of having that expression that she gets sometimes when everything is terrible. So he's not going to reach out and touch her hand because he doesn't know whether or not that would hurt her in a way that he can't fully understand. So he's doing the thing of like, if you can touch my hand, it's just here, if you want to. Not that I'm asking for anything, because that'd be like, I don't know, like not a very masculine thing to do. But like, clearly sort of just like that sort of moment of, I'm gonna just put this here in case that is a thing that you are able to do and give.
And I think that one of the things that makes that an easier excuse for Matthew is that he's known, because he's known Bethany in her episodes throughout the years, that when she's in this state, her being able to control what she's touching helps a lot. Like, even if she needs touch, it like when she specifically needed touch, Matthew would have to like offer, because when he would touch her without her being able to want to initiate it, it would be bad. So he's still got that full layer of excuse.
Yeah.
And she does reach out and takes his hand and gives it a little squeeze.
He squeezes back, and both Clara and Bethany can feel that there's a level of tension, like not full on trembling, but like a level of like that sort of like stress tremble that happens when someone is trying to like be perfectly controlled. That's very much there in his touch. And that there's probably a lot that he's not saying. Like he's being very like, this happened and it wasn't so bad. And it was just, like I just dealt with it. But like from these little like touches, it's very clear in the way that his body language is to people who know him, that whatever happened that he's not saying is not so bad that he's necessarily has to explain it to them, but bad enough that he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yep.
Clara's second hand, she sits down, her fork and her second hand reaches over to squeeze his leg, and she just holds on, lets him hold her, and she holds on tight to him and gives a little squeeze and takes a breath and goes, I'm worried about people we can or can't trust, but I'm also worried if this person, this thing, was able to replicate me, to look like me, we need to set up passwords or checks with people in Pittsburgh, with people here at the hotel, because if they can replicate us, they can go in and try to take over our businesses, try to take over our projects. I need to make certain everything at the theater, anytime I've made a decision at the theater, they know that I'm the one who's making that decision. And you need to do the same back home, Matthew, at the steel mill.
You're right. I didn't even think of that.
It might be time to bring the kingdom back to the kingdom.
Yeah. I need to go home. I've needed to go home to check in on things for a while, and I keep putting it off.
We should check in on the Azadeva and baby Malif, and on the way home.
I agree.
Bethany, were you
Oh, there's
threatened? Were you
another
hurt?
Bethany who's here in Las Vegas who's gonna try to kill me. You know, we have met more of me before. It's not that weird. It's
Did they
not.
all make immediate direct threats to kill you?
I mean, she didn't make it an immediate direct threat to kill me either. She just didn't want to become whole. So, sucks to be her.
In our experience, usually either they make direct threats against Bethany or Bethany has to make direct threats against them.
I was gonna
That
leave
is-
her alone until she had a terrible Osgul horse.
She had a what?
Oh, sorry. This all happened like not in this reality space.
Did you go to Metropolis?
No. So theorizing, but you remember how Cather liked to, or the angel dark of Cather, because Cather's fucked off to God knows where, and nobody knows where God is either, but how Cather's angel liked to recycle souls a lot. So apparently the fractures of me know that me from the before times, because you know our souls keep existing and they kept happening over and over and over again, but mine's in a bunch of pieces, so a bunch of them had different memories, so I ended up in a place that I apparently built before the world was chained. I don't know. And there was another me there, and it was mostly fine. It's a perfectly nice little retreat. I was gonna leave her alone, and then she had an Osgul horse, and I have feelings about that because she made it, because I made my weird unicorn horse acorn monster thing. It is a time. It was perfectly fine, honestly.
Okay.
You can like see the like every moment that like Matthew's like, I'm gonna make sure to talk to Bethany a little more about that. There's like another thing that like came up and he's like, go make another thing. And so now he's got like this list of like follow-up questions that he's now having to parse through. And he kind of just pauses and sets down his coffee cup. This place, you think you know how to get back there?
I haven't tried. I didn't. It was sort of like dream walking, maybe. Like, I don't know if I physically left, because it's not like anybody was sitting here with me and could tell me that my body sat here the whole time while I like astrally projected off into this other dreamscape or whatever. But I don't know. I could have, but you know, the world turned to vines and forest, and I walked off into a forest with a ring and a lighter and a letter opener, like. And I think Bethany is gonna like look around now, like not quite get up yet, but go like look to the desk where the letter opener was and see if it's sitting there or not, because that was the thing she left behind.
It is not.
Ah, well, I went there enough to leave something there, so
What did you leave there?
I left a letter opener in a surgery suite.
Is it a place that you feel connected to it, but do you feel good about it? Is this a bad place or a good place for you?
It's a good place. It's mine. I think I made it for me a very long time ago, and if not all of it is to my taste, when I know that I can get to it more fully, I'll do some redecorating. Um, but because there was another me already there, it seemed prudent to mark it somehow as mine. And so a letter opener with, of course, a bit of Pittsburgh steel, because seemed the best way to ensure that it was marked as mine. And because the other Bethany was there at the time, and while she wasn't like following me around the place, she was still there amongst a whole bunch of other sharp, pointy things. Seemed to be the best place to leave it. So I did. Um,
If if it's possible,
mhm.
would this be a place that you would be interested in having others come with you to? Or do you want this to be yours and yours alone?
I would like it to be mine for now. When I know more about it, I might be comfortable bringing other people there, but from what the other me said, at the very least, this was a place I built just for me a very, very, very long time ago. And I would like to know who I was before I was broken up into so many pieces. And that seems like a clue.
I think that's a fair point.
If
But
you
you
can't
know,
figure out how to
Mhm.
get back there on your own, if nothing else, since I know you left that letter opener there,
Mhm.
I think I could probably open you a door.
Thank you.
Hopefully you can get back without me, and I would never go through that door without your permission, but if you need help getting back, let me know.
And since I seem to have done this, you both might have done this as well.
I was thinking about the
Mm.
reason why I was thinking about it is we spoke about how if we're going to do anything that ties us together, we
Mhm.
don't want to do it
Here.
here.
Yes.
And if there are places that are not hostile Metropolis, but
Yes.
still not here, that was what I was thinking of. But I'm curious whether or not there might be something that, I mean, it's a complicated situation, right? We're not sure whether or not if our souls were recycled, they were ever recycled together, if there would ever be a place that was for all of us.
If I can figure out how I made this a very long time ago, it's very potential that we could build a place together.
I'd like that.
And that would be a very good place for us to find ourselves, as the place of all of our powers combined that we all made.
I think my goal is that when we talk about this, when we speak on what we may do, because we've learned that how we view things and how we frame things is important. That we speak of it as tying, perhaps, or
Mhm.
any other things that linking, maybe. I don't,
That's good.
because of the nature of my way of interacting with the truth, I don't want to say the word bind when it comes to the two of you. That's the last thing I would want to do, is to have the way that I know I need to be at the top of this hierarchy affect the fact that you two stand beside me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fair enough request.
Yes.
After all, we all know that Horsts don't kneel.
We don't.
We don't.
Recover one stability, all of you.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, I should open my sheet.
I go back to my baseline -6.
Oh my god.
I think we should pack.
Mm-hmm.
We should call the people who are important to us and set down some sort of password, some sort of check-in word,
Yes.
just as a temporary measure. I don't want to go back to the theater, but I'm going to this morning just to set down a password and to let them know that I'm going to be gone for a few days and that somebody who isn't Marie is going to be heading up rehearsals and to take something important from the theater and to leave something important while Marie is there. My thought, sorry I'm rambling and I'm still very tired, is if we try to create a place of power where we can link all of us and have all of us linked to, I'm hoping having some sort of connection from the theater here, from the Azadeva house, and from Pittsburgh, because all of those places are power for us and for our family and that are important to us, will help me build that place easier and help us build that place. And then we can go easier between all of those places if they all link to this place.
Also, just for Matthew, did we ever invest in Caesar's Palace since David consecrated those grounds pretty thoroughly when he murdered the Inferno Beast Man?
Yes. I'm trying to remember, because did we end up ever doing that, or like did we end up like did that get lost in the shuffle?
I mean, to use mind's eye, to use like, you know, mind's eye systems, like we talked about it, but you didn't send the downtime. However, I'm entirely content saying, yes, of course we did. We called our people.
Yeah, like
you know, because that's one of those things where it feels like I feel like you call a lawyer and you go, I'd like a steak in Caesar's Palace. Can you have them talk to me?
The way that I actually, if we want to mechanics at it at all, I feel like he would have done that via his influential friends, making sure that he got the best deal possible. And so if it's possible, can I do like a sort of like backdated influential friends roll just to see how much of a stake we were able to get, or would you prefer just to have it narratively?
You know what? That's a perfect use of influential friends. So let's just say that now is about the time that you've started finding out about that.
Yeah, that works for me.
So,
and just because of the fact that I'm like, I have the thing that's specifically about this.
And I was going to say, Bethany's bookkeeping was under the assumption that Matthew had already done this thing. She just hadn't heard about it, and also only tangentially pays attention to shit like that.
and to be fair, like Elon, I think that like I would have done this sort of thing. It's just my mind's been all over the place.
Lots happened.
It has been a whole ass month.
It really has been.
Why don't we? Yeah.
Sorry, that's a 13 plus my 3 charisma, so that's 16.
Okay. So why don't you say the rest of that sentence, Erica, while I look this up?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we say we finish breakfast and everybody kind of goes to do their downtimes / prepare to take a trip.
Yeah.
So Clara's gonna go check in at the theater. Matthew's gonna make these phone calls. Bethany's gonna pack and make the other phone calls that she wants.
Well, Bethany's intention before she went off into Dreamscape Land was making contact with the Azadeva house. And so she might have done some of that before, so she's still checking up on that. Like, that's what she was doing before she wandered off into the woods.
So, yeah, before we break, we do all of this downtime stuff. Bethany makes contact saying, hey, we're coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. To Isabel. To Izzy.
To Izzy.
Izzy.
Isabella.
So it just influential friends, when you roll 15 plus, it just says you get what you want. So
Okay.
you get some undefined
Some
but
stake.
not insignificant stake in Caesar's palace.
Yeah, that works for me. Makes sense.
You know, like I almost want to give you another power that's called like cartoon bags of money.
I mean, that's not a power. That's just what we all have inherently by basis of these characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gave
Like,
us you gave us a concept that was, what if, Daddy Warbucks was evil?
Yes.
That was essentially the
That
beginning.
was it.
Yeah, what if Daddy Warbucks was in a cult?
Yes.
And here we are, 165,000 episodes later.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, who wants to address their downtime stuff first?
I think mine is relatively dealt with. Like it's not so much because it would just be like a business conversation, so it's a little bit less interesting. But,
does Matthew want to check in at all with Pittsburgh also?
Well, his thing with that is telling them he's coming home. So I don't know if you want to do that as a full conversation or if that's the conversation. But he's also going to be setting up his code words, I guess, which he's going to put under as a there's been some new protocols that I'm adding in. We're gonna be talking about things that I want to kind of set up. Like the way that he's putting it is not I'm using a code word because someone might be impersonating me, but more trying to make sure that everything makes sense and that I'm testing to make sure that everyone's listening to the orders that I give.
Yeah.
So if I but I don't think that that's necessarily a full-on scene sort of thing.
No, I mean we so you can say, I mean you contact the people, the higher ups inside the Van Horst empire.
Yeah.
And create those conversations. It's 1957, between like just good old-fashioned business, infosec and mumble communists, mumble Russia. Like you can create pretty, you don't have to work hard to justify a little bit of extra
security.
A little bit of extra security.
And he'll definitely set up the fact that he's coming home and that he wants to. He's got some new ideas. He's got some new things that he might be doing, because after all, he might have found some new metals for us to integrate.
Yeah, and that gets some. Okay. So actually, that would be the thing that would be fun to talk about. Yeah.
Okay.
So the question I want to ask you is do you at what point in the steel mill blob do you want to contact with that information? Do you want to say to the suits, like the executives, hey, I've been doing some sourcing and I think I might have found something interesting. I'll show you when I get home. Or are you calling, the 75-year-old metallurgist in the bowels of the steel mill who is actually the equivalent of your mad scientist?
Oh, I am 100% calling the 75-year-old metallurgist. Because the way that he's putting it is, if this pans out, if we can really crack the code on how to make this work with the rest of the steel, how to integrate it, then I'm going to bring this up to the suits, and not only will 75-year-old metallurgist be given all the accolades he ever wanted, but so will his son Danny and his grandson, Joseph, who both are also working at the steel mill, because of course this is a family business, and of course this is how that goes. But
yeah, it's like the perfect combination of chattel and unions. It's the
best. But yeah, so I think that that's really where he's going to do it, is because there's no reason to bring it to the suits if he doesn't know how to make it work.
Yes.
Gotta be pragmatic about it.
It will. Yes. So, as Ben, I'd like to put a pin in this moment and say,
Absolutely.
this is the moment where we're going to start our alternate universe. Because the minute metropolitan steel hits the world, things are going to change in weird ways. So
I mean,
this wasn't planned this way, and so I'm kind of like, flailing a little bit with excitement, but this is the moment where we start shaping the future of this version of the illusion.
I like the idea of this because I know that for a while we were looking at Give Matthew Nukes, and the way of finding a way to integrate his magic and his connection to Metropolis into steel, as opposed to using someone else's methods of finding power within like the illusion, feels much more Van Horst about it.
It does, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I like that a lot. And it also has a slightly less of a chance of us accidentally ending the game by destroying the entire world.
Oh no, that wouldn't be the end. I already had contingencies for that.
Mhm.
Yes, delighted and delightful. Okay, so yeah, we will. What I'm going to want to do with you, Elon, is I'm going to want to flesh out a couple of people.
Yeah,
a couple of
absolutely.
contacts that you have inside the steel industry, so we both know kind of like the important people. And I am going to be interesting to see how you gently break the illusion of the old metallurgist, because he's not going to be able to handle what you're showing him unshattered. So you're going to have to pop his top a little.
It's okay. We just got to temper it.
Yeah. It's just tempering, just tempering and annealing.
It's just tempering. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who, buddy? Anyway,
Mhm.
so that investment in horror aside, Bethany, do you
Just whatever. She's gonna finish the thing where she was interrupted, since everybody else is now on board. Team visit Baby Malice and check in on Issa and the Oscools, Ozzy Davis. So she's just gonna finish whatever that esoteric contact system is that Izzy and
Yes.
Sophia set up, because we, for their sake and safety, have made no direct contact in the years. We make these like very weird, a letter here, something something, donations here, something something, the least amount of traceable contact we can.
Well, it's like put an ad in a St. Louis newspaper that says these 5 words in any order, and that means this, and then a phone call over here, and then the front desk called and said, someone told me that there's an ice sculpture for you, like that kind of.
Yeah, it's that amount of weird, and that, because Matthew is the one who set it all up, and the Van Horsts are like donating money to this place hand over fist, but so it's through like shell companies and like other like bank accounts, etc., so that, because Izzy always has people looking for her, and so they can't use our money to find her.
Yeah.
Situation. Plus we're hiding, as a Davis and a weird angel baby. So
Yes.
like things we don't want other people touching.
Yes, very much so.
So she's doing the like, there is some very weird series of contingents that mean nothing's wrong, but we're coming for a visit. And she's doing those.
Okay, yes. What you are given is a place to meet that I have not defined, that's about 2 days, not deranged, but intense driving away. It should be 3 to 4 days if you if you turned it into a vacation, but 2 days of dedicated driving and you'll be there.
Okay.
So somewhere vaguely over there somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you'll be meeting a contact who will, make sure that you're you and do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So no problem.
Yeah. That's all Bethany's doing, that and getting quietly more drunk, and every so often like touching a thing that should feel nice to see if it feels any better. Like she's just trying to monitor
Yeah.
her own. The world is a hangover that's moving. Please stop.
Yeah.
Like the
I,
world is a hangover of bugs is particularly awful.
the world is a hangover of bugs.
And yeah,
Ugh.
someone who said the sheets had legs. This is your fault.
You know what you signed up for. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a rough day, and it
Mhm.
probably takes you more time and labor than that phone call and contact should make.
No, yeah, it takes way much longer. Bethany is wearing like a silk wrap dress and like the minimum amount of clothing, like the softest amount of everything that is not physically my body feels bad on me.
Yeah.
Situation, and drinking till it becomes bearable until she notices that it's not awful, which means a drunker Bethany than usual, but like
Yeah.
just it's gotta blur that a little bit.
Yeah. The thing that probably tips Bethany into a level of drunkenness that is more so than
Mm,
maybe her usual cope,
mhm,
if she stops drinking for a certain amount of time, her mouth starts to feel gaseous.
mhm.
Like the alcohol feeling when you consume high proof alcohol and you get that evaporative feeling in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's that, but it never stops. So it
Mhm.
continually feels like the inside of your mouth is like what's the word? I can't remember what it is. Where you're just the lining of your mouth is just slowly evaporating into vapor.
Mhm.
And so as long as you keep putting more alcohol in, your mouth won't dissolve.
Yeah.
But but you do
Mhm.
have to keep putting it in. So,
Yeah. So it
those
is
make
like a very maintained, slow and steady, like tiniest sips. Because eventually she gets to the tipsy point, and then it becomes the thing where it's like, I am taking in just enough to like continually wet my mouth. And as far
Mhm.
as I can tell from this gaseous feeling, it could all be evaporating on my tongue, and none of it could make it down for all I know. But we have to keep doing this. So you have
Yeah.
a getting drunker sister.
Yeah, there is no good answer for this problem.
No.
Okay.
Fortunately, David's driving. It's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Clara, you got somewhere to go.
Yes. She's gonna head back to the theater. Um, First make certain that the bloodstain is actually clean. Whatever magic David knew, magic being the chemicals that he's very familiar with, did their job. Um, and then she's going down the list of chorus girls trying to first she greets Marie, actually.
Yes.
Mhm.
Let's start at the back of the theater.
Yes.
Let's explore this moment a little bit, I think. So, as you open the door, the first thing that hits you is the smell of like floor wax and the scent of a theater that has been cleaned. So it's a little bleachy, it's a little disinfectant-y, but there's also that layer of like wax and oils,
Mm-hmm.
for treating the wooden stage and repairing the protective surfaces that were damaged by the cleaning and cough cough other things cough cough.
Yes.
But so it is that scent, and to you it's perfect because this is the scent of almost showtime. This is after you've scuffed the stage for months and months of doing work, and there's probably been some messes left over from set building or all of the other the preparatory things that come with a show. And now those things are done, and now it is time to make things like new again. So it very much so smells like the show is about to begin.
Good. She walks in and takes a deep breath of that scent and just kind of gives a little approving nod and looks across the stage, looks to the center spotlight, the one light that was left on, to see if Marie is still there, which she suspects she's going to be, and how she is, and if she is there, is walking towards her deliberately, making eye contact.
Marie doesn't move for a little bit. She is in, like, if you imagine, I think it's the posters for the Metropolis movie. It's where the arms are down at the sides a little bit. That pose where they're under the arch. She has remained in that pose. And as you approach, she does slowly engage into motion, and it is Swiss clockwork smooth. It is mechanical. There is none of the flexibility of flesh, but the action is perfect. And so when she steps down off of the plinth and kind of folds her arms in a very classic, like, at rest position, and she bends a little bit and she bows her head in picturesque subservience.
Good morning, my beauty. And Clara leans over and kisses her forehead and cups her cheek. I'm having to go home for a while, but this place is yours, and the girls will be yours. I'm going to get the list of names, and we are going to figure out together who is your second, because they will be here, and they will rehearse that this place is yours. So we will do this together.
Marie looks up and makes what could be eye contact with you. The design of her face is a very neutral one, but she does look at you, and then she agrees and says, "Mine," in a tinkling kind of voice that sounds more like crystals, dangling crystals gently touching each other, than it does something made by a voice box. I will instruct.
Good. And Clara goes and gets the list. And it is the full list of all the girls, all the chorus girls, everybody who was cast in the show, including Marie at the top, because she was the dance captain. She was the favorite. And starts going down the list of names and basically waits. Knows who she thinks are the favorites, so there's a few names she doesn't even call, but waits until there's one where they both kind of nod and go, yes, it's probably this one.
Yes, Marie has retained her technical skill and is very much what you made her to be, but there is no vivaciousness in her. She has no interest in talking about anything else other than the things that are happening on her stage. She is a reliquary. She is a memory of someone who is gone. And you did a powerful thing in retaining this much of her and in consecrating her remains to Metropolis, but this is not all of Marie. But she should be able to provide adequate guidance and instruction with the appropriate second. It's definitely going to be a what is it, Citizen Kane, where he never left his house. He just gave all of his instructions from, am I remembering something wrong? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit like that, where Marie doesn't really say a lot. As a matter of fact, she's probably not even going to move. She is probably going to stay in position on the stage and observe, and then later give feedback to the second. So it's very much going to be a silent partner situation. Because the centerpiece of the stage, getting down and walking up to you and correcting your form, is probably not going to sell. So, but that's okay.
So once the person is chosen, so we have a name, Susan. Is that a good name?
Yeah.
Susan. Clara calls Susan and goes, Marie isn't dancing with us anymore. You're captain now.
Susan's a go-getter. Like she is aware of the competitive nature of the industry in which she works. And so the oh no, how terrible definitely has a little bit of crocodile tear in it. You know? But, you know, she's sympathetic. She knew Marie, or she knows Marie, depending on how you want to feel at the moment. So it's definitely a, oh no, someone whom I am generally friendly with has apparently experienced something bad. However, this puts my name at the top of the list. And so there's only so upset that I can sound.
Yeah, and Clara's all business. She fully understands and explains. So I need you to get down here and see as quickly as possible and see the new piece of technology that Van Horst Steel has provided the show.
Okay.
The Metropolis robot, the centerpiece, is here and is going to be helping direct much of what is going on. It has some personality. It understands my vision for the show and should be able to communicate specifically with you. This is why you are the captain. This is why you are in charge now, and this is why you must meet it.
I'm going to need you to roll to influence a person because you just told her in 1957 that the robot's going to be calling the shots.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
That's a
I'm gonna
pretty
say
big...
if you said that I like that, like that is almost more believable in the 1950s than it would be in like 2020 something, because we know how much that wouldn't work.
Yeah, Mid-Journey is handling choreography isn't gonna sell. So that's a plus charisma roll.
Yeah. Well, I rolled 12. I think my charisma is fine. I think that's going to be totally fine. I mean, I think my charisma... Oh, it's 15. My charisma is 3. I thought it was 4, but that's perfect.
It's enough. They do what you ask.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Seems legit.
I do. Like, she's explaining it like it's a 1950s sci-fi, and she's like, we're Van Horst Steel. Of course we have a smart robot who can direct this show.
Yeah, it's there's definitely at least one commentary about like, okay, something dimension X, something, but you know, the
moment Susan says that, Clara's like, yes, you knew when you signed up for this show it was going to be a strange experimental project. Welcome to the experiment. You're in charge. Do you want to be in charge?
She falls all over herself to say yes. I mean, it's definitely be like, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, I'll talk with the robot. Yeah, I will absolutely go do. I mean, what's the airplane guy's name who went super crazy?
I have no clue.
I don't know either. I'll look at it later. But definitely that like, I see the rich crazy person has arrived. Like, she's gonna have an attitude adjustment when she gets here.
Oh yeah.
So
while Clara is waiting, she goes back to Marie and goes, I know you are Marie and you are mine, but they will have questions and they will not understand. Much like in the movie, in Metropolis, Maria is the name, and so that is what we will be calling you. Do you understand?
yes.
And if Justine does not listen, the moment I return from this trip, you let me know, and she will be replaced. You are important. She is not.
I understand.
And lastly, if anybody comes into this place looking like me but not acting like me, you ask them for the word. And if they do not tell you the word golden eyes, then it is not me. There are people that are threatening us. That is why this happened to you. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. And then Clara does business and cleanup and make certain things are buttoned up for her leaving until Susan gets there.
Yeah. Susan gets there in what is probably as casual of an outfit as is appropriate for the time. Definitely. So she comes in and kind of, purse in the elbow, walks in and just kind of, she's doing the combination of, I know that I need to look like I'm in charge and a go-getter, but on the other hand, this is super weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, big yawn. So she's she's kind of trying to split that edge. But she shows up, she greets you. Says all of the appropriate, like, I'm you can put your faith in me, we'll take care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Da 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 da. And then kind of awkwardly asks about the robot.
Come up. I trust, after all of this work, you've actually watched the film Metropolis, Justine. Or not, Susan.
Susan.
Yes,
of course. I mean, it's I think you probably showed it at one point.
Yeah.
Whatever edited copy is floating around at the time. She says yes, and she gets there and she is absolutely gobsmacked by Maria.
Meet our Maria.
She is shocked at the quality of the workmanship just with Maria immobile as a statue. She is shocked at the workmanship. And so, when she walks forward, it's kind of like halfway across the stage, she remembers she's on a stage or something instinctual happens, and her walking goes to toes first. And there's a little bit of the stage as she takes her steps, and she comes up, she places a hand like on the shoulder of Maria and says very quietly and a little bit scared, "It's warm." And that is when Maria's head turns down and looks at her and says, "I look forward to cooperating with you to prepare this show." And I think we'll leave it right there.
Beautiful.
So,
Clara also gives Susan the Golden Eyes password, but
yes,
that's a better before the end of the scene. But yes. That's yes.
Yeah. Well, that's like I say this as a compliment. That's a real Magnus Archives kind of moment right there.
Yes.
Statement begins. Cast changes happen all the time in the theater.
Yes.
So whenever the owner of the theater called and the called and told me that I was suddenly the dance captain, I wasn't really surprised. Yeah, you know. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Mhm.
Are we about ready to take a quick break and then go on a road trip?
I think so.
Definitely.
Great.
Mhm.
So we're going to take about 10ish, which will put us back at
Yeah.
around the 9:45, 9:50 mark. So
Mhm.
everybody go get something to drink, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Great.
Bye. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah. Elon decided that it was best for him to go. He is fine, but he made the right choice for him, and we love him for it. So it is going to be a ghouls night for a little bit, as we are reintroduced to a character from before the stream. So this is a little bit of a blast from the past, but we will put effort into contextualizing this particular critter.
Mhm.
So the place that you are being told to drive to is part of a forest. It is one of those cute little attraction shacks. If you remember the Neil Gaiman line where when humans find places of power, they build things.
Mhm.
And in the old world, they build temples, and in America, they build the world's biggest ball of yarn. To paraphrase it, this is one of those points. There was a particular sacredness to this little grove near a state forest, but now it has a brand new 2-car wide asphalt driveway and a big parking lot and a little / big faux wooden cabin with an 8-seat diner and a bathroom around the back that does not bear mentioning. And it's one of those places that exists only in this sliver of America's history. A piece in the strata of existence as unique and peculiar as the radiation line from the meteor impact, much deeper down, because there was this beautiful moment where America was full of cars, but it had yet to be carved by grand highways, where there were surface roads everywhere, and we had not quite gouged bland arteries through the world. And so places like this popped up here and there. For example, I live very near Route 30, which is one of the classic places you can go on a Lincoln Highway tour, and if you're in the area, I highly suggest it. But it is these few decades where there are people and money and time and vehicles, but we have yet to turnpike the joy out of travel. And so it is into one of these ephemeral pieces of Americana that you pull up, and it is deliciously cool here underneath the trees. The rain is a little bit more constant here. The temperature is cooler. You are out of the desert, and if someone's yelling at me because there's not a place that's 2 days drive away, eat my shorts. It reminds you a little bit of the deep green of home, of the way the forests reach out and hold your home close within its bosom, the way those 500-year-old trees kind of climb up and around the edge. And it smells wrong but good. It smells deep and rich and earthy. And there is a aliveness to this place that is not in the desert. And You pull up, and there have been a couple steps in between here. There was a dead drop here. There was a letter left at a hotel here. Those kinds of things, because it is deadly serious for many reasons. The safety of the people and creatures that are contained behind this elaborate veil of secrecy, because not only are they creatures of value, and not only are there things that are important to the Van Horsts on a logistical level, these creatures are survivors of terrible experiences, and they deserve to be protected. And so when the last information gave the name of this place, a brief guide to it, and the instruction to leave the mails in the car, it makes sense. It makes an uncomfortably clear kind of sense as to why those instructions would be given. And so Matthew and David are, getting hot dogs or something just a little bit, a half a mile down the road at the next little stop that competes with this one. And you two drive up in your car. And what are you expecting? When you start to make contact with this group of things, what are the memories that rise in you in this moment? If that's too vague of a question, I can refine. Okay.
There's just a lot of Bethany's just having a lot of thoughts. She is remembering the basement in the Royal Phoenix Society.
Yeah.
And the cages. And and remembering the Azadeva who somehow managed to clue us in that the dream journey that she was giving us prior to that in the hookah dream smoke experience, that the Metropolis that she was showing us was wrong, despite the fact that it brought wrath down upon her, and hoping that is not, hoping that all of the Azadeva that we took out of that place are still safe and are still sort of in their cloistered place, so that we won't be meeting any of them. Is it's weirdly her remembering how bad that was and feeling grateful that that one monster sort of reached out to them with the truth. That was one of the first, I think, Bethany, was raised to feel special, but in this group of everyone is special, we're all in the highest echelon. It is one of the experiences that has made Bethany prize monsters over people.
Yes.
And so it was clearly well, first it was Sophia, but Sophia was momster, so that was fine and just a weird thing. But that experience, I think, for Bethany was oh, the monsters are on our side and the people aren't. And I think that has fueled a lot of her focus and understanding in the world about that. And so I think that's sort of where she's ruminating, and she hasn't thought about it a lot for years and years. But and maybe for the first time ever reflecting on that, but I don't think that she's put that together yet.
Yeah.
About herself.
I'm actually going to call a quick timeout and give us and give a content warning that just leapt into my mind. There are going to be some experiences and conversations that are very adjacent to domestic abuse survivors. Because the creatures that we will be talking to both at the end, towards the end of this game and into next game, are survivors of, for lack of a better term, domestic abuse and, frankly, sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So the way that these creatures are being protected are ways that are vaguely adjacent to some of the ways that we protect abuse survivors. So that may hit too close to home for someone. If it does, if it hits too close to home for a player, we can always X out and full stop. There is no piece of any story that is mandatory to sit through. So, and if that hits too close to home for anybody in the audience, know that we love you and that we want you to be safe, and that this is supposed to be fun. And the minute it stops being an enjoyable experience for you, please go do something else. We will be here. We have plenty more stories to tell, so it's okay to take a break. And if you do, and you make the right choice for you, we're going to be proud of you. So, yeah. So that aside, as we continue, Clara, do you have any thoughts?
Hopeful. She's excited to hopefully see Sophia, Momster, and Izzy, and if any of the Azadeva are going to show themselves and are there, getting these monsters out of their captivity in the Royal Phoenix Society and getting and freeing Sophia from her original binding and original contract, and not even setting this place up, because they really let Sophia and Izzy go and said, don't tell us, and take the baby, take this kind of destroyed, killed an angel, and then shoved that entire angel into a baby and named it Malice. We did that previous stream. This happened, though, and it was one of the first major acts of partially magic, partially as a team the siblings did. It was the first major pushing back against the Royal Phoenix Society and against what they were supposedly born and bred to do, that they ever did, and said, no, we can form a new Metropolis in our image. We can make things better than what they were. If we were set to rule, we will rule in our way. We won't rule the way the Royal Phoenix wanted us to rule. We won't rule the way Papa Mal originally thought we were going to rule, and then also changed his mind. We are going to rule. Van Horst don't kneel.
Yeah.
So we're going to rule the way we want to, and that involves giving these Azadeva their lives back in some sort of freedom, even though they're not in their homes and they're in an entirely different place, and involves letting our other sibling go away and not be trapped while we're being stuck in the machinations of capitalism, and letting our mom not be bound to us anymore and also have freedom. So that was one of the first big acts of Van Horst Don't Kneel. And now we're getting to, they're letting us come and see for the first time ever, even if the males have to stay behind at first. She understands. A lot of the Royal Phoenix Society was incredibly male dominated, incredibly sexist. All of the women were under thumb of the men, so, and the men super abused Yazadeva, so absolutely gets why Matthew and David have to stay behind in the car for this first contact meeting. But Clara has a lot of hope that things are going better, that our first attempt to say fuck you to anybody who thought they would shape us, this is how we're going to shape the world, is hopefully doing well. Yeah, and she wants to see Momster. She put on her tightest dress to show off the baby pooch and is hoping that Sophia will be proud of her for making a next generation. But we'll see how that goes. But Claire's excited and has hope.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that big conflict where we did sort of murder an angel and shove it in a baby that we're going to go meet, is in fact the genesis of Van Horst Don't Kneel. We refused to kneel to said angel in front of the Royal Phoenix Society. So that is the beginning of what is now our refrain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is why this is definitely, I think, a big deal for all of the siblings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on some context narrative for next game to help everybody come up to, have enough that they need.
Mhm.
So it's a very idyllic, like there's a little store right here, and it's a little eight table diner over here. It's cute, and it's small, and it's called Mike and Laura's or something like that. It's Mike and Laura's diner. It's Mike probably runs the kitchen, Laura probably makes the pies. It is a crystallized piece of Americana in a good way. And so when you pull up, there is no one else here. There are no other cars here, but there is a figure leaning against the wall next to the front door in the James Dean pose. So their feet are a little bit out, and their shoulders are back against the wall, and they are very comfortably leaning. And it takes you a minute to contextualize and to recognize them because their hair is down. And they are not wearing their black and white servants, suit that they wore. They're wearing black slacks, but the shirt they are wearing is a fantastic turquoise blue. And it is rolled to the biceps. And the body in it is the same one that you remember. It is a very I think at the time we called it like very Swedish. It is a very solid, strong, but extremely feminine shape. And she is leaning against the wall and kind of looking at you two through you in a way that you haven't seen in a long time. And the closest thing you two have ever had to a mother breaks into a crooked grin that makes the scars on the side of her face pull at the bottom of her eye. And she kind of levers herself up off the wall and waits for you to park.
Mm-hmm.
But already you can see that there is a light in her that she did not have the last time you saw her. Sophia is somebody else who's never allowed to have another bad day in her life. I will continue distributing never have another bad day in their life to abuse survivors. You can't stop me, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And so, she looks completely the same and completely different. And so you pull and you shut off the car. I assume Clara's driving.
Mm-hmm.
And what next? You get out?
And it's not running unless Bethany runs.
It's the
restrained. It's the restrained want to run, but being adults.
But yeah, there's like a giddiness that is in Bethany, and Clara, like, that just hasn't been there in the entire time in Las Vegas. And when you see someone from a long time ago and it makes you want to be a kid again, in that you feel safe. You don't have to care about everything, and you can let go of so much and just be so happy to see this person, and everything feels simpler. in that moment when you first see them, no matter how complicated things get. You just have this moment that, yeah, they're like not quite running up to Sophia, but it's damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sophia lets you come to her, which makes sense, all things considering. But as soon as you get close enough to, she absolutely grabs one of you in each arm and pulls you in for
Yes.
a rib creaking
Yeah.
hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And makes a noise that you don't know, but it sounds a little bit like a language, which is probably not a language either of you know, but you can hear the endearment in it. Like, you don't know what she's saying, but she is saying it lovingly.
Yeah.
And just repeating it again and again and again and again and again. It's like the same 8 syllables, just repeated. And then she stops and swallows and kind of like chokes for a minute, and then starts saying, "My little queens, my little queens, my little queens, my little queens." And just holds you both very tight and like kisses both of your foreheads, and then, because she's an Osgul and because she is a hyper predator, she then sticks her face in your hair.
Yeah.
Smells and like definitely gives you both like a very thorough sniff check.
Yeah.
And so she smells Bethany, and you know how you can tell that someone's smiling into your hair? That strange sixth sense. You can feel her smiling into your hair when she does it, and then she puts her head to Clara and does the same thing, and then freezes. And looks down at you, Clara, and says, "You're pregnant."
Yes.
"Are you okay? Are you safe?"
Mm-hmm.
"Who's the father? Is it Matthew?"
It's Matthew.
Okay.
It's good.
And there is a we're not going to go into the nuts and bolts of it, but there is a solid 2 minutes of Sophia having a very real panic attack about it. Not because, but because she is so scared for you. And so there is a brief, you know, the sun goes behind the cloud for a minute while she has a very real panic attack where she has to ask you all of the 50 questions that she has to ask you. Who is your doctor? Where is your doctor? Where are you going? Like all, and it is just, and it is very Sophia. Because she can't ask you how she feels, and she can't tell you she's excited. But she can make sure that you know that she wants you to be safe. And so there's a, you know.
When the questions have been answered and Sophia starts to like wind down and there's a pause, there is a tug on her pants leg. It's Bethany, and she just looks up at Sophia and goes, "Can we get ice cream?" Which is a distinct reference to when they were very small children and Sophia was more bound than she is now, and so could not tell them any of the things or help them or give them things they wanted, but would somehow let us get around the rules of her binding so that she could like take us for ice cream. So it's a very specific Sophia and the siblings care thing. And so that's sort of Bethany's way of like saying they understand and that there's still they still know the ways to talk around the things that they can't say.
Yes. And when you say that, Sophia says yes in that way that's half a laugh and half a cry. That, like, you know, where the emotions are being lightning rodded into happiness, where they could have easily turned into sobbing. And she says, so she laughs and she says, yes, as much as any of us want, because no one can tell us we can't have ice cream. And like she kind of turns on her heel and like throws open the door to the diner in big dramatic fashion. And and yeah.
And as they go in, Bethany reaches out and gives Clara's hand a squeeze.
And so Sophia walks in and says, hello, there are 3 of us now, there will be 5 of us later, can we please have a table big enough for 5, and what's for dessert? And so that so you guys are sat at the table, and dessert, there's chocolate ice cream, there's vanilla ice cream, there's apple pie, there's some seasonal fruit pie and everything else, so it's a very, probably banana cream actually is probably one of the ones. So it is very much a diner. So if you imagine the rotating refrigerated circular turntable with all of the pies on it and all of that, state of the art at the time, so very fancy. And so I guess there's a brief pause while everyone kind of finds their emotional center again and sits down and gets ice cream and coffee or whatever else. And Sophia sits down and kind of, you sit down and you adjust yourself, and she pulls her hair back down, like, because it was down and around her shoulders, like very, very kind of everywhere. So she's now put it back and has it behind her shirt, and both of her ears are extensively pierced with just like an amazing amount of gold jewelry in each one. Just rings that go to chains and bangles and different things, and you're entirely certain that at least 2 of them are little bells. And so she cuts quite a figure and definitely gets a look or two from the waitress, and that just like, wow, that is absolutely not at all what I am used to seeing. Holy shit. But also, you are all clearly wealthy. And you are all clearly going to sit down and have a meal, and she is not going to ruin maybe her only good tip of the day, by being a person about it. So,
I like the earrings.
Thank you. No one can tell me I can't.
Not at all.
So I got something that I remember done.
Good.
So, yeah. They make me feel like me. So.
Good.
So everybody is safe. Everything is fine. We'll be able to go visit them. They're not far away, but they're far enough away. Your sister came back, so she should be able to still be there when you arrive. The little one is adventurous, and I forgot what it was like when they realized they had opposable thumbs. He is very aware that he has opposable thumbs.
I hear that happens.
Malice called it the flood line when you were younger. He would say the flood lines to here as soon as Clara could reach something. He would the flood lines up to the top of the desk now. And that would be
That sounds right.
Mm,
Does he seem like a normal child? Is smarter as smart?
His eyes are old, but his laughs are young.
Hmm.
He's not a human in a tiny little human body being raised by 7 not humans. He's odd, but he is loved, and he seems to be developing as near as any of us can tell, and normal enough. And so we taught him how to control his bowels and, some of those other things. But I think that as he grows up, we will probably see different things about him that are indicative of the way he was made. But so far, he's just a baby, a toddler now.
Normal's overrated.
Yes, it is. And then right around there, a smorgasbord of desserts arrives because Sophia went absolutely apeshit and essentially ordered 3 of everything on the menu. So there's ice cream, and there's several cups, and there's a thing of coffee, and then there's like several slices of pie, and there is a weird moment where Sophia actually asks the waitress to put a piece of cheddar cheese on apple pie. And like she goes, yes, really. And so there's that strangeness. It's just good, you should try it. And then there's a ice cream to be had, and there's whipped cream and bananas and sundaes and the whole 9 yards. So she says, so tell me the good things first, because I know that you wouldn't be here if it was all good things. So tell me the good things first.
Clara's got a show.
I was going to say Bethany is a girlfriend.
Really? Well, I owe Jacob $5. So who is that, Bethany? I know your mate.
She's an angel.
Whose?
Not sure, but I have my suspicions.
Wasn't she there in Pittsburgh the very first time?
She's the one who helped us at the Red Phoenix Society.
Oh. Well. Oh. Okay. Are you happy? Then good. If you need me to teach you how to kill an angel, I know how.
Good to know. Hope I don't need to.
Yeah.
Not for her. Might be useful to know for other purposes, but
yes.
I'm always the practical one.
Sometimes, yes. So tell me about your show, Clara.
Metropolis. Based on the movie, of course.
She just shakes her head in that just like, I can't fucking believe you way. Like the audacity, like definitely, like, if you could imagine the audacity of this bitch made out of pure love, like that's
Yeah.
what that's
Yes.
what it is.
We
Okay.
are working on eventually making Metropolis what it should be,
Mhm.
making it better, taking a rightful place there, making certain those who wish to go back, who would have a home there and treat it proper and be treated as they should be, will have a place there again. And that means we have to gain power here to take it there. We have to break the lies here somehow, some way. And if I can gain worshippers for Metropolis and for us with this show, this little review, and that helps us back home, all the better. And so far, so good. So that is the show. It is not quite open yet, but little bits of previews seem to be effective.
This is a big play.
That's why we won't go without power.
Mhm.
You need power, and you'll need manpower. You'll need bodies.
Mhm.
Even before they needed armies. Yeah, they needed us. So be careful. And make sure that you're not making more of us.
No.
That hasn't been in the plans.
Okay.
Once things are calm enough and we are vetted enough, you need to see Matthew again. He misses you too.
Mhm.
I know.
But David, you should see David.
Yeah.
And who is David?
Our driver, you remember David?
The little thing?
Not so little in some ways anymore.
What did Jacob say? Yeah, you could turn, if he turned sideways and stuck out his tongue, he would look like a zipper. That David?
He's kind of a tank now.
Almost literally in some aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you to be more clear about that, my little queens.
He has been transformed. Partially of his own doing. Partially of something that was in him previously, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And partially of his request to be bound to Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew is taking bindings,
Only of their free will.
Yeah.
Okay.
David got down on his knees and asked Matthew.
Okay.
David.
I won't.
Mm.
I won't.
No.
We don't
Okay.
want you to.
No.
Okay.
No. You told us before.
Never again.
No.
Never again. I know. Just
Never
needed
again.
to say it. All right.
But I would be curious, without describing more, maybe I've said too much already, what you consider David to have become when you meet him.
I will look at him. We have when we were taken from one thing and made into another, one of the things that was done was within us was placed the ability to see souls. And so it was because we were supposed to be able to recognize our masters no matter what shape they took, but now it is that we can see souls. And I will look at David's, but if you say he is safe, then I will believe you.
He is safe for us, and if we explain, he will be safe. But I think we should be clear that David, on a fundamental level, is not safe. That is his purpose now to some degree.
He is a weapon.
And but he is ours.
Okay.
Something of it was his nature before. Something of it is what he's seen, but he has protected us when we needed it. And he has sworn to Matthew now as his knight. So I just want to be clear that David is fundamentally dangerous, but he is ours.
Would he be offended if we asked him to stay outside of the sanctum?
No.
Okay.
No.
He's still our driver.
Okay. I don't want the others to see what he is and think that he is for them.
Of course not.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to be clear that David is still his own person, as much as he's a person. And David is will not harm us for your own ease of worry, but that he is fundamentally not a safe thing. He is a sharp blade, which means as long as you have the handle, he will not hurt you.
Okay. I have a new set of memories that tells me that I should trust you, and I have a very old set of memories that makes that sound very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We would like you to meet him.
I think that I have to now.
You don't have to do anything.
I think that for me to do what I want to do, it is an unavoidable next step to meet this David.
Yes. He has changed since you saw him last.
I could see the scars that war left in him.
Mm-hmm.
Part of this was the war here in the lie affecting him, molding him.
And he was with us, so he continued to see the truth of things, and that changes a person.
Yeah.
And he's not so human now.
Well, I guess I can't hold that against him, can I?
Every step of the way, we have ensured he has been given what he wanted, been where he wanted, done, indulged in what he wanted, which has been messy sometimes outside of our purview.
Mm-hmm. He is a monster, and he has monsters' hungers.
He does.
Yes, he does.
For simple murder? For just death or something worse?
Murder, I think.
Just death, mostly.
Fairly bloody. He cleans it up well.
But
of all of the hungers being changed could leave you, that is one of the easier ones.
it was the war in him, we think.
You never really stop being in a war. So how's Matthew? Tell me about Matthew.
He's Matthew. He's worried and trying to hold it all together and not letting anybody see when he's not feeling well or too worried about things, so to speak.
Just like his father.
I think he has some big ideas, and it's going to make things very interesting.
I bet he does. He doesn't know how to think small.
No.
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 Oh, and he has a new hand now. That happened.
Oh, he does. That's yes.
And what is it about this new hand that you sound so suddenly nervous?
It's made of Metropolis metal.
Which one?
The Quicksilver Mercury shiny one.
Oh.
The one.
Okay. The eater of other places.
Yes, that one. Okay. It was the one I could get my hands on at the time.
Oh, I remember when Clara vomited some up.
That was remarkably useful. I'm not saying I wish we could go back to those, but
yes.
Glad we had some, and now we are getting better at embracing our gifts, power, magic, and being able to do it. Still not great at it. Wish we had other ways of learning it, but we are getting better. And if what we did the other night is any evidence, we, in certain times of magic, when we are calling on power in certain ways, might be able to reproduce that sort of Metropolis metal from smaller bits of it into larger bits without my having to vomit it everywhere.
I mean, I've done that twice now.
Exactly.
It is designed to increase. That is why it was probably unexpectedly easy.
Yeah.
It before everything changed when the old masters found things that they liked from other places and brought them to Metropolis, they would sometimes just tear them wholesale out of whatever they liked. They would not prepare them for the change. And so when these things were brought to Metropolis, they often brought with them diseases and vermin and other things. And so the other place eaters, which is the ugliest translation I have ever heard, but I can't come up with a better one, were made to eat other places. They were made to nibble at the edges of elsewhere. And when everything changed, I think that the underlying mechanisms that guided them were damaged. And so now sometimes they are inert, and sometimes they are over hungry, and sometimes they exist as spores, seeds. And so probably what happened is that what I was guessing at the time was that you probably just swallowed some. Which thankfully you swallowed them instead of breathed them, but
yes. Though hearing that they're broken makes the momentary terrarium idea I was just having probably not effective.
They're broken, but that doesn't mean that they won't reproduce. You just have to be more careful about how much you feed them.
You don't have too terribly much from elsewhere at the moment, anyway.
All the more reason for maybe a terrarium. It's just to start a small nest, breeding ground, something, in case we need more. They were incredibly effective at eating whatever that ichor awfulness was from the other night. So it's been an interesting time, Sophia. But we
Sounds
have
like it.
Grown up and are doing well.
Good. Good. The sanctuary has been safe.
Good.
The others are mostly recovering. There are more good days than bad now, and the bad days are usually pretty short. There is some anger. But it is not the kind of anger that eats you from the inside out. So, we found some books on psychology that we have read and used them on each other. It doesn't always work right, but sometimes they help. No, they're well.
Good. And before we visit, if you haven't told them already, you should let them all know we're coming, and if any of them don't want to see us or interact or want to be there at all, they don't have to.
I already received their permission.
Good.
You are the Van Horsts, but you are not who I protect anymore. And so when you reached out, I asked them first, and if they had said no, that would have been it.
Yes, good.
But
Good.
for the most part, they want to see you. So, at the very least, a lot of them want to say thank you.
It's good to hear they're doing well, better.
They...
It is good that their circumstances are changed for the better. And
they are Azadevas, and the only people they have to entertain is a young boy and an old Osgul. And that is, and sometimes your sister when she can visit. But we are not their preferred crowd. And so sometimes they wish that they could go out more, but everyone understands why they can't. But they help each other dream sometimes.
That's nice.
Which is nice, yes. And they have taken Malice and I on a few trips and a few, what are the words? Waking dreams. But yeah, a couple of them have fallen in love, which is irritatingly cute.
Good.
Because they keep... I'm sorry, I don't speak English every day. I speak our language, and so some of these words I didn't realize I needed to have a translation until I realized I needed to have a translation for them. They are breathing at each other, but when they're in love and they breathe at each other, it is stronger. So if they're being at each other, we shove them into a room with a door, and we shut the door, and we all go somewhere else.
Just make sure you have enough draft excluders.
Oh goodness, they are.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because they don't know what to do with each other. They're not supposed to.
Yeah,
that's not how we were made. It's supposed to be, and so they but they figure it out, I think. I don't ask. I don't want to know.
Love finds a way. Love,
I guess.
Definitely way.
Well, we push them into the room, and we usually sit on the porch, and then one of them staggers out, kind of a little like this, with their head waving back and forth, and then they take a couple-hour nap. So I guess that means that everything went okay.
Good.
Although a human is going to have to explain sex to Malice one day, because I am not having the Azadeva do it, because they will.
I feel like
they will plant strange seeds in that boy's mind.
Izzy is uniquely qualified.
Izzy is uniquely qualified, but
you might want to supervise that conversation though, because Izzy has some opinions.
Yes, she does have a few, but yeah, it is. It is a place full of broken things, but we have mostly rubbed each other smooth.
Mm.
So just
Good.
some stones in the same stream.
Yeah.
But before you go get Matthew, I want to tell you two something. And she almost cried a couple times earlier in this conversation, but now they actually gather and fall and trace a line and kind of down across the crooked scarring on her cheek. And she says, I am not bound to love you. But I do anyway.
There's like a table that is all that's stopping Bethany from launching herself into a full body hug. Like, 100%. Like Sophia can see her body like hit a table and she stops.
Yeah. And
Like,
Sophia gets it and stands up because, she recognizes, when it's a time for a hug. And she, she says, well, let's go get Matthew and let's, have a sniff of this David of yours. And yeah. She, and then she hugs you both individually, one after the other.
Yeah.
And
Clara lets Bethany go first because she can feel Bethany vibrating through the table floor. Yeah.
And she mumbles things in a long forgotten language that Osghouls and Azadeva speak to each other when they are in private, and it is a strange hissing, chattering sound, but it is a sound that now, having heard it some more, you recognize, because it is the sound of Sophia being outside your room, because it is the language that Jacob, the other Osgoul bodyguard, and Sophia spoke to each other in private. So when you were traveling and Sophia was explicitly guarding your door, this was the sound of that, because the only other person she would speak to was Jacob. So this sound is the sound of Sophia being Momster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she lets Bethany go with a great deal of reluctance, but with an equal amount of fervor, then also crushes Clara in a hug. It's like she's trying to play catch up. It's definitely like she's paying back on investments. But she smells like she definitely like got a nose full of Bethany, but she gets like 3 or 4 nosefuls of Clara, like far more investigatory. Like Bethany, she just wanted to smell her again, just on that animal level. Clara, like, she takes another smell and then like stops, and then takes another one, and then like did your mom ever like grab your face to like look at something like a smudge and just kind of does that like grab, like she does that, but it's very gentle. She kind of like turns her head to the side and like sniffs along your ear and your shoulder, and kind of like sniffs around your mouth, and she goes, you don't smell like drugs.
Oh yeah.
No.
And you don't smell like withdrawal.
No.
Bethany helped me. She took it from me. It was complicated, but needed. And especially I wasn't going to let anything happen to this baby. And I needed to stop, and I couldn't do it on my own. So that's what what siblings are for. And Clara reaches out and grabs Bethany's hand very tightly again and squeezes it.
Mhm.
And I trust her.
And
And
like,
it was worth it. Whatever she took from me was absolutely worth it.
Bethany gives her hand a really, really big squeeze and like looks very sincerely at Sophia and goes, "She asked me. I'd offered before, but I didn't try until she asked me."
Sophia looks at you again, Clara, and this time her eyes sheen over, her illusion fades, and those big black shark eyes that you've only seen a few times kind of hint behind her human eyes, and she looks at you and she is looking into you. And with the vision that was meant for her to be able to follow commands in a distant and broken world, she looks at you and she says, "It was clean work."
Mhm.
Okay, good. I was worried. But I'm glad that you made that choice.
I think it was probably the only way.
Yes, probably. It was the best terrible option, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go see the king, shall we?
Mm.
And his metal
His
knight.
Night.
Yes.
My little queens, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you.
Love you too. So much.
Okay. Go get the boys.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna have more pie.
Yes.
And I think on that, we will bring the story to an end for tonight.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. How are we? Aside from our hearts are really, really big.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good to see Monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for the question of
Mm.
that, and I was like, well, if we didn't cover it in the initial panic attack, so that was good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bethany ate a part of my soul. It's fine.
Well, that's not what you said, which was the
No.
right thing. You
No.
said Bethany took it out. You didn't
Yeah.
mention that Bethany consumed it, which
No.
would have been a whole ass different conversation.
Yes.
No.
Might happen later, but no, it was that. And again, Bethany very, very explicit. Didn't do
Yeah.
it till she asked. I offered before, but
Yeah.
do
No,
it
I
till
like
people asked.
honestly, I mean, like, praise for the players. You guys did a really good job of navigating that conversation, because there were several points where saying the wrong thing could have made that a lot more terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But so what do you think of the new Sophia with the turquoise shirt and the long
Yes.
hair and the ear piercings?
Yes. Oh,
Very good.
So
Oh,
good.
so happy.
so happy for Sophia.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to make a really great Metropolis where all the Azadeva and all the Osghouls can run around like
Uh,
tall, hot, butch
Yeah.
women with 2 dozen
yeah, the
piercings.
amount of like butch vibes that Sophia was throwing was really intense. I was like, oh no. It's not.
Yeah.
I did absolutely have a moment where I'm like, did I make Sophia a little bit too something? Then I went, nah.
Nah.
Sophia gets to be
But
herself
no.
now, and that's good.
She gets to be
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think that
No, it was
we'll be
very
able to
good.
bring in,
Yeah.
Elon. at the top of
Yeah.
next game, and he'll be able to have his conversation with Sophia, and then if everything lines up correctly, we'll be able to see the fourth sibling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
lovely.
This game started with 4 players, and because that person had the fantastic opportunity to go to grad school, and anyone who's ever been to grad school knows exactly how much 100% of your time is consumed with that, which is, right. So they had to step aside. But yeah, it'll be fun if they can. They're a good friend and a good role player, and we look forward to seeing them again. So,
and I will say, I hope Elon feels better, but actually, I really love how this worked out. I love that there was the vetting process, and as we got into it, and I remembered how sexist the Royal Phoenix Society was, and how damaging through like men they were. I was like, oh, this makes deep amounts of sense.
Yeah.
Actually.
There was a part of me that was kind of like quickly doing the mental math about like how much women's shelter do I put in this?
A lot.
And
because that was also the intention.
Azadeva aren't women.
They're not.
Yeah.
But that was also
they were being damaged by men.
Yes.
That's why having the males stay in the car made more sense, even though this wasn't really women's shelter.
But we also
it's more
it up as players, like when we first were talking about it back pre-stream, it was set up to be a safe haven, women's shelter, abuse escape way. Like that was the extra part of the cover, I feel like, was that it was also like women's shelter. So like it was like 100% made sense, because that was like the thing that we were doing was as we did, we were like, Sophia, please take these poor damaged monster creatures away and keep them somewhere very safe where that doesn't ever happen to them again, because that was bad and it made Bethany explode people.
It really did.
Bethany literally exploded human beings because she was so angry about it. So like if the Royal Phoenix Society had not made a practice of ritually and institutionally abusing Azadevas, they might have made it out intact, or at least survived. But there would have been less. But that no.
Yeah.
So I think it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Awesome.
So it was good to fill up your hearts.
Yeah.
As always, as often, let's throw the link for the Discord in the chat. There are always our standard aftercare of memes are in there, and apparently we made more than one person cry tonight. Sorry, not sorry.
Good. You want more wholesome? Here's 2 sleeping kitties.
Kitty therapy.
Side by side.
They're very sweet. I've got a type behind my computer right now, which is very sweet, but it's way a lot to show you him. So there's a
Molly's also, if she's mad, she's cuddling her favorite toy.
Oh wow, yes.
This is Molly's favorite toy.
Yeah.
It's the corpse of a mouse.
It is.
It's emptied because I keep a small monster in my house.
Yeah.
Our favorite monsters.
Yeah. Remember to love your monsters in the way they need loved.
Yes, exactly. We love all of our monsters. Oh, thank you for playing Monster and for being a great GM. Ben. You're great.
So good.
Good. Yeah, this is exactly what the doctor ordered today.
Yes.
So
it's very good.
All right.
All right, guys. Please remember, you are valuable. You are loved. If you are in a if this reminded you of anything in your life, reach out. There are plenty of contacts and stuff available. There are lots of ways to make yourself more safe. I know 6 foot tall blonde hair, blue-eyed guy with a beard telling you to be safe, but please, there are lots of opportunities to improve your situation, and we all highly suggest that if you need to, that you do so, because you deserve to be safe, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to have somewhere that you're not scared to return to. So I think we're going to leave it on that, and we will see you guys in a couple of weeks with more wholesome monster content. And that's it. So Thank you very
Yep.
much, guys, and good night.
Thank you.